Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories. Senate President Bukola Saraki returns to the Code of Conduct Tribunal. Sorry, I do beg your pardon. House of Representatives demands the removal of the Inspector General of Police from office over alleged poor performance. Senate rejects report by committee mandated to investigate the failure of the Inspector General of Police to arrest and prosecute the perpetrators of the recent killings in Benue State. Army launches operation to tackle herdsmen and farmers' crisis, as well as kidnappings and other crimes in north-central Nigeria. And South Africa's African National Congress is in talks with President Jacob Zuma over transition of power. Now, for more on our top stories and others, please visit our website, channelstv.com, and youtube.com/channelsweb. Also, please log on to m.channelstv.com to watch us on your mobile device, or download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS, and Windows devices from their respective stores. The Channels TV and Channels 24 app will give you access to news and updates. You also have access to the Eyewitness feature, with which you can share those pictures, videos, or news of happenings around you. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the menu and follow the instructions. The Nigerian police have debunked the rumor making the rounds of an attack by suspected herdsmen on the Ore-Benin Expressway yesterday. An audio message circulated on the social media raised an alarm over an attack which it claimed resulted in the death of many people. But police spokesman Jimoh Moshood told Channels Television that checks by the police in Ondo State revealed that no such incident took place on the road yesterday as alleged. Channels Television also gathered from a transport company in Benin City, which was said to have been involved in the incident, that there was no truth in the rumor as none of its vehicles was attacked on the road. A video which also went viral on social media and was said to be the result of the attack has been discovered to be the result of a robbery that took place on the road in the year 2010. Police authorities may have, after all, given up on the manhunt on Mr. Kazim Afegbua, the spokesperson to the former military president, General Ibrahim Babangida, after he personally walked into the force headquarters in Abuja today. Mr. Afegbua was declared wanted over a letter he issued on behalf of General Babangida on the state of the nation. Police spokesman Jimoh Moshood had accused Afegbua of, quote, making false statements, injurious falsehood, defamation of character, and for acts capable of inciting public disturbance throughout the country. Mr. Afegbua also withdrew the names of the two media houses joined as respondents in his suit against the police, where he is alleging an abuse of his fundamental human rights. Before reporting himself, Mr. Afegbua explained that he was simply being a law-abiding citizen by presenting himself to the police.
When I was declared wanted on Channels TV and NTA, he was the one who called me. He said, why did they declare you wanted? Are you a criminal? So we laughed over it. And he said, are you on the run? Have they given you an invitation? I said, no. I said, okay, that's interesting. But who is complaining? And I read, and he said he read on the news that talking about defamation of character. He said, whose character have you deformed or have you defamed? You know, so I'm very much in touch with him. I'm not doing anything out of the blues. I'm only here personally because I was declared wanted. I'm not on the run. I'm not a fugitive to the law. And as a responsible Nigerian, I feel it was unwise on the part of the police to declare me wanted when I have not been formally invited. I have withdrawn this money. I know there's no complicity. I have withdrawn that of NTA and Channels this morning, formally filed at the Federal High Court. And so I'm suing the IG of police and the police, you know, as it were, for infringing on my rights and demeaning my person and maligning my reputation.
The spokesperson to the former military president, General Ibrahim Babangida, Kazim Afegbua. The federal government says investigations of the suspended acting executive secretary of the National Health Insurance Scheme, Professor Usman Yusuf, will continue in spite of his reinstatement. The Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, made the promise at a news conference after the Federal Executive Council's weekly meeting today. He, however, says he's not aware that the acting NHIS executive secretary was under any investigation by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. The reinstatement of Professor Yusuf comes 8 months after the Minister of Health, Professor Isaac Adewale, suspended him over allegations of gross misconduct leveled against him by an investigating panel. Our correspondent, Gloria Ume Ezeoke, reports.
President Muhammadu Buhari arrives the council chambers to preside over the Federal Executive Council meeting behind closed doors. At a news conference with 4 other ministers, Mr. Lai Mohammed spoke on the president's reinstatement of the National Health Insurance Scheme Executive Secretary, suspended by the Minister of Health last year over gross misconduct.
I did not say that I'm not aware that he was suspended or that any investigation is going on. But the issue about the EFCC in particular was, I said, I am not aware that it's being investigated by the EFCC. But if that is true, the fact that it's been reinstated does not mean that the EFCC will not continue its investigation.
The finance minister, however, reveals that Nigeria plans to lower borrowing costs from the proceeds of a planned $2.5 billion Eurobond.
So this 2.5 billion that we'll be raising will simply be used to buy back treasury bills, domestic debt. Approximately, it will give us about 762 billion in Naira terms, and then we expect to save about 64 billion a year.
More approvals came by the council for the Immigration Service for the procurement of 35 operational vehicles.
Cost per unit is about 14 million. The other one cost per unit is about 8 million. And it's for the operational vehicles for use of the Assistant Controller General and Controller of Immigration for border security. This including painting in immigration colors, that is 4,095,000. Totaling 483,210,000.
More ministers are expected to continue presentation of their scorecards at the next council meeting. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
To legal matters, an Abuja High Court has again struck out an application for bail made on behalf of Maryam Sanda, who is standing trial for allegedly stabbing her husband to death. At the resumed hearing of the case, Justice Yusuf Halilu struck out the application on the ground that there is a pending application before the Court of Appeal challenging his earlier ruling dismissing the bail application filed by Mr. Joseph Daudu on behalf of the defendant. Justice Halilu, while adjourning hearing of the case to the 19th of March, describes the new application for bail presented before him as an abuse of court process.
We were expecting the court's ruling on bail, but he raised the issue of a dead, defunct notice of appeal in his file and said it will amount to an abuse of process. So on that note, he refused to take the motion.
There was a notice of appeal filed against the earlier ruling of application for bail that was refused, which they had filed a notice of appeal already validly before the court. And while that notice of appeal is still subsisting and there's nothing at all, no step was taken to withdraw it or discontinue it, then I'll come up again with an application, a motion again for bail for the same thing before the same court.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has arrested 2 officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, who are standing trial on allegations of collecting bribes from the former Minister of Petroleum, Diezani Alison Madueke, ahead of the 2015 polls. The anti-graft agency arrested Mr. Christian Nwosu and Tijani Inda Bashir outside the premises of the Federal High Court in Lagos shortly after the court adjourned further proceedings in their case to March the 7th. A lawyer to one of the defendants tried to obstruct the arrest, but the officials of the EFCC succeeded in arresting the men, who were then whisked away in a waiting bus. No reason was given by the Commission for the arrest, but Channels Television's judiciary correspondent, Shola Shoele, gathered that it may not be unconnected with fresh evidence uncovered by the EFCC against both men, which has to do with the alleged stealing of certain INEC funds. Members of the Islamic movement in Nigeria again worked the streets of the nation's capital, Abuja, today. demanding the release of their leader, Sheikh Ibrahim el-Zakzaky, from detention. Members of the group are calling on the federal government to allow the cleric see his personal physician owing to his deteriorating health position.
Despite the various degrees of injury in him, even though the DSS has make it public to the people that they have allowed him to see his medical doctors, but the medical doctors has no facilities to handle his case. Even when President Muhammadu Buhari traveled for his treatment, there was a time where we requested the DSS should allow us to bring our doctors from abroad. Even doctors are ready coming from Tanzania, Ingila, and Dubai to come and treat him. They agree, but on coming the very time that Buhari come back to Nigeria, they refuse. So they only allow him to see his medical doctors, but they don't have facilities to handle his issue. Secondly, we are demanding for justice against the killing of one of our clerics, Sheikh Umar Sokoto, whom has been brutally killed by Nigerian police last month.
One of Nigeria's flag carriers, Dana Air, has refuted reports that the door of one of its aircraft fell off after landing and while taxiing on its own accord in Abuja. A statement issued by Dana Air says the door couldn't have opened on its own without a conscious effort by a passenger or crew member to open it. It adds that by design, the emergency exit doors of all aircraft are plug type, backed by pressure, which ordinarily cannot fall off. The statement explains that the aircraft, upon landing in Abuja, was inspected by engineers and a team from the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, the NCAA, and no issue or threat to safety was reported. A thorough investigation on the concerned incident is said to be ongoing. When the news at 10 returns, federal government plans to invest 1.3 trillion naira annually for capital projects to reduce Nigeria's infrastructure deficit. That will be in the business news. Please stay on this.